Hello everyone, welcome back. Thank you for joining us. In this part we will continue exporting another part of our project example here to Quixel Mixer and then to Unreal Engine again. More specifically, it's gonna be the bathroom this time. We're gonna follow another way of how to export this to Quixel Mixer and then to Unreal Engine using the material ID, so we can actually texture all of these bathrooms together using a single texture with a material ID. So let's see how we're gonna do that. To start, just to give you an idea of what we did, basically we have removed all the invisible faces that were available during the modeling process. So more specifically, all of the upper and the bottom part of these walls have been removed, so we can actually minimize the amount of these faces and give more space to the other faces and the unwrap texture layout. If we unhide all the model and then go into walk mode inside Blender by pressing Shift and the backcourt key, that's the key next to number 1, this will enable the walkthrough mode, which you can activate using the AWSD keys with the mouse. You can increase the movements or slow it down by moving the mouse cursor up and down. So if we left click here and then Alt and Edge to unhide all the other faces, as you can see we managed to keep only the visible faces and make sure that there is no gap, so we don't have any light leaking during the lighting baking process inside Unreal Engine. Alright, so to start we have added a different material for these bathroom walls, so we can enable the material ID process. But for the master bedroom bathroom more specifically, we want to add more details to the walls, so we can enhance the design a little bit. If we look at the NG architecture floor plan, you can see that there are some details here that we can take advantage of it, that will help us in the design process. Unfortunately, we don't have any images for the interior part, so we're gonna do our best to make it look as best as possible. So, reference to this image from Pinterest, we're gonna add actually a stone wall to the bathtub side wall, and also add a small shelf beside it to make it more interesting. To do that, we need first to mirror that wall, so we can add also the same stone wall on the other side. So I'm gonna delete this wall because I want to make it instance from this one by adding a mirror modifier. But first I need to specify the center of this edge so I can mirror this to the exact location. And to do that, I'm gonna use the procedural drawing add-on that is available for free to download. It's called the BDT. We have used it before in our previous videos. So I'm gonna select these two vertices. I'm gonna go to press on place or use percentage placement, and this will place the 3D cursor in the middle. Then I'm gonna choose this wall, right click, set the origin to 3D cursor, and this is the origin of that wall, that when I add the mirror modifier, it will mirror that wall on the y-axis to the exact location. So next I'm gonna select the edges, two of these edges, and press S for scale and X, and let's put a value, for example, of 1.2, so we can see that this is helping us to speed up the modeling process more. So I'm gonna choose the faces, and I need to extrude this face a little bit to the back so I can add a stone wall texture on this side. So I'm gonna hit E for extrusion on the y-axis, and let's put a value of -0.07. Then I'm gonna choose this side, or I can actually choose the upper face and also remove it because it's not gonna be actually visible because we have the ceiling covering this area. And let's choose this part, for example, and the other part as well, and let's keep these walls with the same material as this one. I believe it's this one. So we need to separate this wall so we can manage to give it a different material. I'm gonna keep this unselected, so I'm gonna hit P for separation, and then I'm gonna add a separate material. I guess this is this one. Alright, so now we want to apply that modifier because we want to add only a shelf on this side. So by pressing on this small arrow here, apply, then going on that side, again select the edges here, and two of them, S and then Z, to scale it down a little bit. I guess this is fine. And then on the vertical axis, another two, and then S with the X. I think this is going to be enough. Selecting this face, extrusion on the Y-axis, let's give it a value of -0.1. We have actually enough space because this wall is actually thicker than the others. Alright, so now that we are ready, we can start now unwrapping these bathrooms along with the ceiling inside our texture. So let's unwrap these bathroom walls by going to the UV editing, heading new, let's say for example bathroom 8K, and make sure if it's not 8K just multiply it by 8 and pressing OK. So I'm gonna select everything by pressing A, tab for edit mode, and then U to unwrap it, and then we have all our faces inside our texture. Now before we start, it is really recommended to activate the UV sync selection, so when you select one of these faces you can know which face you are selecting in the viewport or in the 3D model part. So before we start, what we want to do actually is that if we choose for example all of these walls that have the same material, by either pressing on L it will select all the faces, so I can choose all these walls together like that, and pressing L it will select all the materials. If it didn't select them all, you can hit Control, and by the plus sign it will increase the selection up to the last face that have the same material. So all our faces is now selected. So in our unwrapped texture, as you can see, they are placed randomly, and that is actually what we don't want to have. What we actually need to do is that we need to align these edges together with the vertex on the same level. So why we want to do that? If we look at the Quixel mixer and our file that we have prepared earlier, if your edges are not on the same level, these tiles lines that are in the material, they will not be on the same level. So you have to make sure that they are on the same level. That means we have to do another manual work on the UV unwrap texture. I know it's difficult, but trust me, it's worth it when you find the result at the end. So to make it easy, let's select these faces and let's hit on the dot key so we can now zoom into that faces. So we need to select this one also. So I'm gonna hit Control plus, keep pressing until I select them all. G to move them here. And as you can see, we have them all here together. So I'm gonna select this face and this one. It seems that this one, we need to mirror this one. So I'm gonna select all the faces, right click and mirror on the X axis. So when I select this, they are all in the same direction. Then I'm gonna hit G and hit Control, and they will be aligned on the same level together. And let's move to the next one. For example, it's gonna be this one actually. So I'm gonna select this and let's move it here. Need to find out which face is this. Oh, it's this one, so next to the stone wall. So let's again make sure that they are on the same direction. So I'm gonna select this one over here, G, and hit Control, and they will be aligned. So again, over here again, G, and they are aligned. So if we select them all, you can see that now we are selecting all of these faces. So it seems that we have missed this one. Let's move it over here. And by pressing G, Control. So we need to move this so I can make sure that they are aligned or unwrapped on the same order. Okay, so now if we select all of these faces, you can see that we have only these few other faces that we have selected. Then after that we will basically move them all. Then we're gonna move each bathroom walls to be aligned on a separate row. So for example, if we have this aligned here, we can move the other bathroom beneath it and then the other one. After we move all the bathroom, we can go again to the textile density and choose the texture size and make sure, for example, that we can set the textile density, for example, to a higher value. Let's say, for example, to 8, and set our texture density so we can get the best out of our Quixel Mixer texture resolution. After we finish that, we're gonna go to the text tool, and then we're gonna pick our texture as we did before in our previous tutorial to create the material ID. So I'm gonna skip this step because we did it before, and then we're gonna move to Quixel Mixer. So after we have finished aligning all of our faces on the unwrapped textures, so as you can see here, each bathroom, for example, this is basically the ceiling, so it's, and the floor, that's okay. We don't need to align them actually because they have a separate material. But for the walls, if you look closely, for example on this one, and see again that's actually the floor. So let's select it from here. This is this wall bathroom, and this is basically the storeroom, which is this one. It's okay if you rotate it on that side on the other direction just to get enough space, because we have set our textile density to 8, which is good. And then for example this one. So after that we're gonna select them all and then export as an OBJ object, import it into Quixel Mixer. So let's do that. So this is now what we have imported inside Quixel Mixer. Now the next thing is that we're gonna import our material ID. So if you remember from previous video, when we imported our model, we have chosen that we want to have a from material option, and that enabled Quixel Mixer to separate our faces or our objects by the material. This time we're gonna do it differently, just to demonstrate another way into how to speed up also the work process using Quixel Mixer with Unreal Engine and Blender. So inside the edit texture, I'm gonna select the single, and then I'm gonna go to the material ID and I'm gonna choose my material ID. Okay, so once we import the material ID, we're gonna go to the layers and we're gonna create a layer set and name this, for example, as bathroom 1, which is the master bedroom bathroom. And then I'm gonna choose a material, for example, let's select, for example, the stone wall material. And then we're gonna hit the ID material so we can add a material ID and enable the selection for that wall. Okay, so after the material have been loaded, we just need to add a material ID and then hit Q to select the specific wall that we need to add this material to. Then I'm gonna select the material and go to the placement. I wanna add this as a tiling placement, and then we're gonna change this, for example, let's say 8 by 5, for example. So if we're okay with this, we can make sure that also the other wall that we have done it earlier also have the same material. Okay, so let's also add another material, so we can add a different tiling material. So let's choose the tile textures, and let's choose, for example, this one. Okay, again the material have been loaded, so I'm gonna choose material to add a material ID to that one. Hit Q, for example, and then go to the placement, make it as a tiling. Let's increase this, for example, as 9 by 9, for example. Maybe this is a little bit big, so let's 5 by 5. Okay, this is I think enough for the bigger tiles on the floor. Let's add another material also to the other walls. Let's say for example this black stone material, and then add the material ID to that one also. Choose the wall, change the placement to tiling, and then let's adjust this, for example 9 by 9 for example, and let's hit shift and right click mouse to move the lighting, and let's see if we can adjust a little bit of the roughness, to make it a little bit reflective. Let's change the color of the albedo also to make it a little bit more brighter, and hit apply. So this is just a basic idea of how to set up the material for these bathroom walls using the material ID. So after we finish adding all of the materials, we're gonna export the texture to Blender. So after we finished texturing all of the bathroom walls and the storeroom based on the floor plans that we have for our project example here, you can see that we have also added 4 layer sets for each bathroom. Inside each of these layer set is a group of different textures for each bathroom. At this point, we can also mention that if you have, for example, a smaller project that contain only 2 bathrooms, you have the choice of doing this on the same material ID as we have done, or to separate them both so you can have different texture setup, or actually you can export them from Blender using their material and import them inside Quixel Mixer as we have done in our previous video, and texture it the same way. However, we did this demonstration so we can show there is another way of using Quixel Mixer to texture a larger amount of walls by using a single texture, and then we can go to the export and choose which part of our materials that we want to export, and inside the advanced texture setup we're gonna choose JPEG again because we don't want to increase the size of these images at the moment, and choose 8K textures and then export it to our disk. So let's open Blender and then assign this texture to our bathroom. So inside Blender we have added our textures in the shading viewport, and now we're gonna select all of our bathroom faces and hit Ctrl J to join them so we can have only one material added to them, and then connect the base color, and if we just give it a second to load, and as you can see, this is the material that we have added earlier in Quixel Mixer. So we're gonna connect also the metalness and the roughness and also the normal, which we're gonna actually need to add a normal app between them, and choose this as non-color. Give it a strength, for example, by 1.2. Alright, so next let's export this to Unreal Engine. Now we have the option of either exporting this alone as a Datasmith file, or we can actually unhide the remaining part that we have exported earlier, and then select them all and export it to Unreal Engine and update our Datasmith file. That will enable us to update the Datasmith file inside Unreal Engine with the additional objects that we have exported also. So inside Unreal Engine I'm gonna re-import our Datasmith file with the updated one. So I'm gonna re-import with a new file, and this is the one. So again, the same options. So after the re-import have successfully finished and we have re-imported and updated our previous Datasmith file, instead of adding another Datasmith file, let's press on F11 to maximize the window. Let's check our textures. As we can see, they are all imported, and except this, for example, we just need to give it a two-sided face. So let's press on the parent material, let's add two-sided face, apply. now we have our ceiling also added along with the other bathroom also. So all of them has been successfully added and imported inside Unreal Engine. So in our next video we will also continue on exporting the windows and the doors for this project example, and we hope this video helped you to find another way of texturing your 3D objects inside Quixel Mixer using the material ID, especially using their latest updates, and how to export it to Unreal Engine. So if you have any questions regarding what you have seen in this video, please share it down in the comments. See you next time. Thank you for watching. Thank you.